Alright guys, today is an episode of Club Review, and today I wanted to have a look at Burnley because they're currently in the relegation zone and they need to get out of it basically. Okay, so Burnley's form this season has, well, for a team who are in the relegation zone and like having picked up that many points, they haven't actually lost that many games. However, that isn't a great thing because that also means to have so few points they have and not lost many. That means they're also not winning many because they're getting ridiculous amounts of draws for a team that are in the bottom three. Whereas if you compare them to like Norwich have had a few wins this season, but they've also had loads of losses and not many draws. Burnley have only had 3 wins so far this season against, if I remember correctly, Burnley in October. And that was their only win this season up until February, when they had a 2-game run of beating Brighton 3-0 out of nowhere. And then a very inconsistent Tottenham team, 1-0, with Ben Mee headed. But they've also had some good draws. A 0-0 draw away at Arsenal and a 1-1 draw at home to United. So they're good results. But it's not going to be enough to keep them up. They need to get some wins before the end of the season. I think this season the 35-point mark is going to be safety. So Burnley have got pretty, if they can win 3 or 4 games out of their next, I think they've got 10, then they should be all right. But that depends on how well Leeds, Everton and Watford do. In terms of cup football, they exited the FA Cup in the 3rd round to, I think it was Huddersfield. And in the League Cup, they won a couple of games against Newcastle and Rochdale, but they then went out to Tottenham, I think it was. So yeah, no real success there, but I think staying in the league's Burnley's biggest objective this season. Okay, so Burnley's best starting 11 for me is Nick Pope in goal, state the obvious. And then a back four of, Tarkowski and Mee at centre-back, that much is obvious. They're a brilliant centre-back partnership for a team that are so low in the table. Charlie Taylor at left-back, I just think he's a lot more consistent and better than Eric Peters now. Peters was a good player a few years ago for Stoke, though. And then Matt Lowton at right back. A lot of people could question, is Connor Roberts slightly more superior now? But I just feel, I know Matt Lowton's not the most exciting player ever, but I think he definitely does a job for Burnley, and it has, like, it consistently performs like a 6 or 7 out of 10 level. And then midfield, Aaron Lennon on the right. His recent form has been quite good. He's looked the best he's played, in my opinion, this season in probably 5 or 6 years now. Because if you think when he left Tottenham in about 2014 or 2015, he had a very below average spell at Everton and then just sort of disappeared. But he seems to be back sort of this season. He's not as good as he was 10 years ago, obviously, but he's still all right. Then Brownhill and Westwood in midfield. Again, not the most exciting midfield pairing, but still 2 workers in midfield. And then Dwight McNeil on the left. See, a lot of people like to make out that Dwight McNeil is Burnley's star player. I'm not so sure. I thought he was good when he first burst onto the scene a couple of years ago, probably a bit longer than that now, probably 3 years ago, isn't it? But he just doesn't have enough outputs for Burnley. Like, they need a player who does create more goals for his team, like in that position, and McNeil just isn't quite doing it at the moment. I wonder if he would be better as a left back who could put playing crosses from deep, but that's just my opinion. And then a forward 2 of Wout Weghorst and Maxwell Cornet, who have both done really well this season since joining Burnley. So yeah, that'd be my starting 11 for Burnley when everyone's fit. Okay, so Sean Dyche, I mean, we don't really need to say anything about Sean Dyche. He's a brilliant manager, and so the job he's done at Burnley is superb. To keep them in the league for 6 successive seasons now is incredible, given the amount of budget he's had. Like, if you think about his biggest signings in terms of spending, you've got Maxwell Cornet, right, Weghorst this season. They've spent slightly more than normal this season, to be fair to Burnley, but they had to because the squad was just so thin. Nathan Collins, I think, came in for about 10 million as well. Then over the previous years, you've also got maybe Ben Gibson, who really didn't work out at Burnley. Just trying to think of other players. Chris Wood, who, to be fair, did all right for Burnley and also left for a bit of a profit as well. So that's not too bad. But like the compared to other teams in the Premier League, the spending and the budget has been so limited, and what Sean Dyche has done to keep them in the league is just incredible. The way he manages to get his team to grind out points is just amazing, and he deserves a chance at a bigger club if Burnley, unfortunately. Now that's a bit disrespectful to Burnley, but what I mean is, like, he deserves a chance at a team who are pushing for a European spot. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful to Burnley there, if it came across that way. But yeah, anyway. And then for potential transfer targets, I really sort of struggled with this today. Usually I find this fairly simple to do. But I've gone with Lloyd Kelly at centre back for Bournemouth, because I think he's big lad, big. He's very good in the air, and he's quite good at long passing as well. Versatile, can play centre back and left back, and can also put a ball into the box as well, which, I mean, helps Burnley when they have the big players they do up front in Weghorst and sometimes Ashley Barnes as well, although not much this season. And then forward two, I sort of struggle with this. I put down they need a Pogba-like player, sort of. I just feel as though they need someone who can create something a bit in the midfield, or who can bring the ball forward, because they sort of, what doesn't help Burnley is they don't have a plan B at all, and that might just be down to the fact that they have had no investment in quality players, and Sean Dyche has had to live off scraps. And I just feel that they, like Brownhill and Westwood, they're respectable central midfielders who work hard for the team, but there's not much excitement there. And then up front, again, I feel as though Cornet's been a good addition to the team, but I feel as though they need more of a modern day striker. So I put down that now this would be a massive stretch for Burnley to possibly sign him, but Victor Osimhen for Napoli, because, I mean, he's a very good finisher, very quick, and he's actually quite good in the air as well, and a good dribbler. So, I mean, it'd be very hard for them to sign him, because I don't know how much he would cost, but I think he'd cost about 40 million at least. So probably not in Burnley's sort of budget. But then again, if Burnley do want to stay a Premier League team, they are going to have to, spend a little bit. So yeah, it's up to their owners at the end of the day, I guess, really. Yeah, but I just couldn't find anyone, to be honest, other than Lloyd Kelly. And Osimhen's far too much of a push, really, isn't he? Okay, so in summary, Burnley are in trouble in terms of flirting in the relegation zone, like they do most seasons now. And without the players like Sean Dyche, Nick Pope, and the centre-back pairing of Tarkowski and Ben and this season Cornet's supplied quite a few goals as well. I think they would really be like in trouble this, or they might already be pretty much down in like Norwich's position if it wasn't for those people. But I'd give it a 4 out of 10 because with Burnley, this is around the time where they do tend to pull themselves out of it. So it'll be interesting to see in April how they do. They've got some interesting games coming up. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.